You're now watching And They Overcame.
They overcame him by the blood of the Lamb and by the word of their testimony.
My name is Erica Glass, and today I just want to share my life story, a small part of it anyway. Just give you a little background of who I am and why I'm able to give a testimony of God's faithfulness and His love towards us and what He can do if we just allow Him. Just to go back, my childhood began, I lived with my grandparents. I of course had a mother and father that were on drugs, and they did what any parent would do that is on drugs. They lived their lives. Me and my sister, like I said, we lived with our grandparents up until we were teenagers. We both ended up getting pregnant at the same time, a young age, 16 years old. It was at that point my mother, she came back into our lives. She stopped doing drugs, she straightened up, she helped us to raise our kids basically, and I thank God for that. And as my life went on, I had my first son when I was 16. I had my second son when I was 17. Just doing all the wrong things, partying, still wanted to live like I didn't have children, basically going down the same route that my parents had taken. Just to me, looking back now, just a generational curse. Ended up getting pregnant again at the age of, 19. Now I have 4 children. I have 2 boys and 2 girls. Like I said, just still want to run the streets and do what I want to do. At one point in my life, I got into some trouble with an older relative of mine, my uncle. He's only 10 years older than me, and we were close, in age, so we hung out, we did things together. He sold a lot of drugs, and with drugs comes money. And so me, I'm thinking, I can make a little money, a little fast money, get high at the same time, it's gonna be all good. Decided to go down with him to Texas, ride back with him with a car full of drugs. When I got back and he sold what he needed to sell, I would get my cut. Well, we didn't make it back. In fact, we didn't even make it out of the state. One of his friends had actually gotten caught up. He knew that we were leaving with a whole bunch of, drugs, and so he decided to tell on us. Okay, the police stop us. It's cold, it's February. We're out in the cold, standing out, waiting for this police officer to search our car. He knew what was in the car. He just wanted to, see what we were all about. So he searched our car, found the drugs. We're all placed under arrest. The amount of drugs that was in the car were so much that we couldn't just bond out. We couldn't just get out. So we had to stay there for a while. I think I stayed in there about a week before I was bonded out. I bonded out, came back home. Now I got a major felony on my record. Still using drugs, still, just living a hard, fast life. Fast track, that case, it finally was over about 3 years later. We fought it for a while. It came to an end about 3 years later. I ended up getting 6 months in the Texas jail there. I had to do my time there. I'm in Huntsville, I'm living here, this is my home, but I had to go there and do my time, which means I had to leave my children for 6 months. Okay, I left them, went and did my time. While I was gone, my grandmother, she decided she wanted to file for custody of my children. Now, 6 months is not a long time in my eyes, but apparently she had another agenda. So I'm doing my time, my 6 months. I went in June of 2010. I got out in December of 2010. I came home, I'm thinking I'm gonna get my kids back, and no, I can't get them back. I go up to the courthouse, they serve me with papers saying that I wasn't a fit mother, and that basically I had to prove myself to them that I could take care of my kids, and so that's what I did. Now I would tell anybody, you know, jail is not the place for anyone. But in this situation, that made me. It really did. I had to look back at my life and look at what I had done and what I was doing to myself and what I was doing to my family and my children. And I had to make a choice right then, and I did. So from then on, sitting in that jail for those 6 months, I didn't smoke, I didn't curse. I made a vow to God that I would do the right thing. If he helped me, if he just got me through this, if he made me strong enough to get back to where I was once before in life, which was, you know, a decent person. I didn't feel decent anymore. I felt lousy. I felt like a loser. I was losing, and I was about to lose my life. And he did it. I mean, when I was in there, I prayed, I stayed on my bunk, I read my Bible all the way through. And I'm gonna tell y'all something, that is the key to this life. That word is living, and it's very sharp, just like it says. And it'll cut you, but guess what? It also will heal you, and that's what it did for me. I was able to read that Bible through and through and get an understanding of who God was and what he meant to me and what he means to us all and what we can do through his power. So I got out, like I said, I went through the motions of getting my children back. I hired an attorney, whatever. For whatever reason, they still didn't want to get my kids back. We went to court. They awarded her full custody of my children. So now I'm at the point to where I'm having visitation with my kids like I'm just nobody, basically. Like I'm not their mother that gave birth to them, that carried them for 9 months. Which also, I mean, it's left a strain on my relationship with my grandmother, which is their great-grandmother. We don't talk. I don't really have much to say to her. And it's a lot that goes into that. Today, my life, what's going on right now, I'm in the church, Seventh-day Adventist church. That came about when I got home. My son was attending Oakwood. He had always been in Christian school. We had always put him in Christian school, and he had been going to a Seventh-day Adventist church school. But as I said, I wasn't that involved in their lives, and so I wasn't really keeping up with what they were doing. So when I got home, I made a vow that I would do better. So I started going to church with him. Started going to church, listened to the messages, and it was just something about this particular church. It wasn't like any other church I had been to. I had always been raised in a Sunday church, and you know, I always felt like the messages they were preaching were a little bit superficial. You know, they would always teach about the love of God and you know, Jesus loves the whole world, in which he does, but I didn't ever hear about Revelation and the book of Daniel and what all that meant. It was kind of a closed subject, but I would read it at home on my own, and I didn't understand it, but I would still read it. It was always fascinating to me. And I noticed when I got in this church that those questions that I had about those particular books and a plethora of other things were answered just like that. It was like a light switch had come on, and I knew that I was home. I started taking studies for a whole year with a couple. They came faithfully to my house, and in 2012 I was baptized a Seventh-day Adventist Christian at Oakwood Church, which I'm still a member there now. Right now, my life, I'm just trying to do what I can do as far as giving out the message that the world is coming to an end, y'all. And we need to wake up and realize that we don't have much time. We don't have much time. Tomorrow is not even that, you know, have been to jail or are in jail or whatever. Don't think that that is just the end all be all to your life. Listen, I have a felony on my record, okay? I was blessed with a job that I have been on for 3 years now. Was able to buy a home, a new car, all of this within this time. God does not, he doesn't look at us and say, you know, you're this and you're that. That's the world. That's what the world does. But what my God did for me was, I had an opportunity at I had an opportunity with the temp service. They sent me on a job. Didn't know how long it was gonna last. Could be permanent, could not, just depend on me. Okay, well, I got in there and I did better than I thought I could do. I exceeded, I excelled, I did everything that they asked me to do and more, because I knew that if this is what God had for me, then I was gonna have to work for it. Nothing was gonna be given to me. Well, the temp service, they did a background check on me. Of course, I got this felony. I really didn't care. You know, I said, guess what? If this is for me, God's gonna give it to me. So do your background check. I'm on the job about a week. The background check comes back. The lady calls me. She says, Erica, you know, I see this on your background. She said, can you tell me a little bit about it? And you know, at first I was shocked and I was kind of discouraged. I just knew that, you know, it was going to be over for that job that I had only been acquainted with for a week, but that I loved. And so I started explaining to her, and she said, well, you know what? I'm going to let them be the judge of that. I'm going to let them make the call if they want to keep you or not. Well, right then I knew I may have a chance. So I called the supervisor there, and I told her what was going on. And right then and immediately she said, Erica, don't you worry about that. We have all done stuff. She said, and he is a caring and forgiving man. Don't worry about it. You go and don't worry about it. The weekend is coming up. You enjoy your family and come back to work on Monday. So the whole weekend I'm stressing. I'm at church. It's all on my mind. I couldn't help but to think about it. Well, Monday morning got there. I was the first person there. I waited for him to get in, and he called me in his office and he talked to me, and I explained to him the situation, and he looked at me and he said, you know what? That was so long ago. I'm not even concerned about what you used to do or who you are. You're doing a fine job here, and so I'm gonna let you stay on. And I mean, I could have cried right there in that office, not because of him, what any man could do, but I knew that it was God working through him to show me that this is just the small things. If we think that this stuff on earth is just a portion of what we could have in heaven, but he allowed me to at least obtain some of that on this earth. So just to tell you, don't worry about things like that. It could come up, and it probably will come up, but you just keep fighting and know that you have a God that he's conquered everything, and a job is only one thing. So being in this church, I felt a lot of love and just a lot of protection, I want to say, as far as the members just wanting you to know what the truth is and how to get you closer to that truth. And the truth is that the world that we live in right now, if you have not noticed, the signs are everywhere. You can just, if you pick up the newspaper or watch the news on television right now, you'll see the book of Revelations. You'll feel Daniel and what he's saying about the kings and times and a half the times. All that stuff is coming to light right now as we speak. And my advice for people right now is just that if you're not where you think you need to be, just pray about it. Really seek God. That's what I had to do. I had to seek God. Even though he was there, he doesn't force himself on any of us. I knew that he wasn't going to just make me magically appear inside of a church. I had to do the work. I had to pray. I had to read my Bible. I had to really give over my will and let him do what he needed to do in my life for me to be able to see what I needed to see, because I was blind. I really was. Just get into a church. Like I said, pray about it daily. If you don't come to an Adventist church, get in some church. But bottom line is, it's going to come a day where you're going to have to choose. And right right now you're making your choices, and it's gonna be, written in stone. So just choose today the way that God has for you. Just on a spiritual aspect, I would say just get into a Bible study. Start a Bible study at your house. You can do it by yourself. I mean, it's really not hard. I know it sounds like it. I know it does when you're out in the world and you don't know where to turn to, but you have to start somewhere. And I would just say, do the total opposite of what I did. Like I said, the jail thing, it wasn't for anybody. Jail is not for anybody, not even an animal. But I will say that God will put you in certain situations to get your attention. That was my situation. That's what I had to do to get back to Him. He had to put me in that place. He knew that would get my attention. That doesn't have to be the case with you. You may not have to go that extreme, but wherever you are right now, God will meet you there as long as you turn to Him. You just have to turn to Him. Like I said, my advice, just if you're on the straight and narrow, stay there. If you want to get on the straight and narrow, work at it. Work at it like you work at a job, like you go to a job, working every day faithfully for somebody else to get rich. Invest in your own self, because at the end of the day, you only have you at night and in your thoughts. And God he's always been a help to me. Always. Even when I was doing wrong, doing bad, I would still read my Bible. Didn't know what I was reading, didn't know what I was doing, but I still knew to go back to that. So all I'm saying is it's in us. We just have to allow God to bring it out. You have now watched And They Overcame.